Provided that we are streaming. Welcome everyone. I think we are. Welcome everyone. Hopefully we are. Even though I'm just talking to myself. Hopefully everyone. Yeah, we are. Hopefully everyone has been having a decent day. We'll be back to the puzzles right now. So I'll make sure everything's working technically. But before I do so, I'm just going to briefly explain the meaning behind all of this doodling. So the green highlights signify the active pieces we have. I think I highlighted this one as well. On top of that, I drew a blue arrow, kind of showing that there's an open file. I think I'm going to stop explaining this because they're kind of self-explanatory. These are the weaknesses of white's position. So take a good look. I'll be making sure everything works. I'm going to stop explaining this because they're kind of self-explanatory. These are the weaknesses of... Sorry. There we go. Okay, well, everything seems to be working. Not only that, but I have a couple of things to say. Firstly, there are gonna be two little breaks here in this stream because I have a delivery to pick up, and I mean it's gonna be a 1 minute break. I should have explained. So two brief little breaks. The first one because I have a delivery due, and the second one is by changing the battery of the camera. I forgot to charge the battery of the camera, so it's gonna die at some point. Hopefully it's gonna die at like the 20-minute mark, enough to use the other one that I'm charging right now. And the third and last thing, probably the most important one, is whenever you're watching this, everyone, feel free to use the engine while I'm solving these for whatever purpose you need, because that's not considered cheating. It's actually useful sometimes to guide yourself using the engine and thinking, oh, well, he got it wrong here. Oh, he got it right. But please do not feed me the right moves. Do not feed me the solution. That defeats the whole purpose of this. The whole point is that, like, I struggle where I struggle. I get it right where I get it right. If I'm taking too long, that's just me managing the time in an improper way. That's my fault. But please do not feed me the right move, because that's... Well, yeah, we're not here to get all of the puzzles right. We're here to see and learn how to calculate. And if we get it wrong, we get it wrong. Okay. With that out of the way, okay, the answer of this one is pretty simple. So clearly this king is in danger. There's a very clear candidate move you should be considering in this position, and that is rook g3 check. Queen h1 you would consider maybe briefly. Queen g3 too, but okay, if you're going queen g3, you might as well try rook g3, which is the most logical. And I think the delivery's arriving in around 7 minutes, which is perfect actually. So the first kind of move is rook g3. We're not going to play it yet, we're going to visualize. So rook g3 check. This is also very appealing, because white has an only move, f takes g3, and then we open up the file for the rook, which means that we can deliver mate in 1. So it's actually forced mate in 2. Okay, let's go into the difficult things. Viking, not sure if you listened to the introduction of this stream. Welcome. Hopefully you're okay. Please do not feed me the right answer, even if I've taken a long time. And because I think it defeats the purpose of the whole thing. So if I'm gonna get it wrong, don't worry, I'm gonna get it wrong. It's fine. That's the point. Like, I get it wrong if, like, yeah, we learn. Okay, and it also makes feel like, yeah, it's, as I said, like, if you want to use the engine while you watch the stream, and you can do that. It's useful to some extent, I think. Seeing where you're going wrong, when I'm going wrong and when I'm going right, and things like that. But I think feeding me the answer is defeating the whole purpose. What do you think? Okay, well, I'm gonna try to get this one out of the way before I pick up this. But yeah, feel free to suggest ideas. We're gonna hopefully solve this together. Okay. Equal material. Harlem Tragedy, thanks for subscribing. Equal material, we have a king and pawn end game. These are very tricky, so we have to get things right from the very beginning. I mean, we have to get things right from the very beginning in any position. So the good news is that it's our turn and we have the chance of playing king d5, which would gain opposition. Opposition is this key concept in endgames, but I think that's too basic. If you guys are watching this, most of you are probably intermediate level, and we're going into or higher, sorry. So yeah, let's get going with candidate moves right away. So equal material, fair enough. We have g5 as a candidate move, king d5, probably king d5 first, I should have mentioned, in priority order. And that's about it. I don't see anything else. So king d5. King d5 looks good. There's tons of candidate moves for the opponent. There's h4, there's g5, there's king e3, there's c4. So I don't like that. So let's try g5. Maybe just because it removes two of the moves that I mentioned. And maybe that makes my life easier. So g5, my main concern is king e4. Because, for example, something like a c4, I think it just allows king b4, king e4, takes, king b4, king f5, king takes, king b3, and I think we're quicker. Sorry, a4, takes, a3. And because white has this extra pawn, I think we're actually winning. We just get close. So we are winning. It wasn't simple, but g5, king e4, king c4. Sorry, g5, c4, king b4 is winning. But even more concerning probably is g5, king e4 right away. Because now in this whole race, king takes a4, king h6, king b4, king takes h7, a4, g5, a3, g6, a2, g7, a1. Not only white gets to promote, but they even do that with check. So if anything, we're probably the ones risking. I'm gonna have to step away for a second soon. But you guys keep thinking about this. Thank you, Viking. Yeah, I mean, I barely got it before you, but even like from the, imagine someone just joined and they don't know you're the mod and things like that. Like they're gonna think, I don't know. They're gonna think we're doing some sort of a malicious, dishonest thing. But yeah, as long as you don't, like again, like if you think you've seen it and you have the answer, just and obviously if you know for a fact that it's the answer, then don't. Okay, I'm gonna step away for a sec, I think. I don't understand what's going on here. It's 4 minutes away. Okay, never mind. So g5, king e4, king c4, king takes c5, king takes c3, king f5, king b4, king... yeah, going h6 doesn't seem like it would help. g5, king e4, king c4, king takes c5. King b3 doesn't seem to help either, because then white goes king d4. What about e4? e4, king takes c4, king c4. Ah, okay. Oh, that's not even in our candidate moves. Okay, e4 is now in our candidate moves. Interesting idea. King takes c4, king c4, king e5, king takes c3, king e6, king b4, king f7, king takes a4, king takes g7, king b3, king takes h7, a4, g5, a3, g6. Yeah, I think we're not in time. But it was close. e4 takes to e4 takes, king c4, king e5, king takes c3, king e6, king b4, king f7, king takes a4, king takes g7. Let's say king b5. King takes h7, a4, g5, a3, g6, a2, g7, a1, g8. Draw. Well, we have to fight for the draw. So no good. But okay, e4, interesting idea, yeah. Oh, wait a second. Maybe we had alternatives. King c6, that was very linear. So king f7. We also have g5 there, maybe. Or g6. King g7, king takes a4, king takes h7, king b5, king takes g6, a4, h4, a3. Ah, we're winning. Maybe not g5, but g6, right? Yeah, maybe instead of g5, g6. Nah, but king b3 instead of... So for example, this takes king c4, king e5, king b3, king d4. I don't think this ever works. But all of a sudden I think well, specifically Thiago guided us towards the right direction, because g5 and king d5, like g5, king e4 doesn't look good. King d5, g5 for example, and I don't know. This doesn't look good either. So e4 is brute force. It forces the pawn race. King takes e4. So I think by method of elimination is going to be e4. I'm going to step away. Give me a second. I'll be back. Thanks for your patience. Let's try e4. Okay, it's my fault for. But I'm glad that no one is cheating. That's a good idea. That's a good start. Okay, so We rushed for e4. Completely my fault. I usually don't do that. It's just because I felt like we've been spending too much with this already. That's my excuse, at least. The truth is that we got it wrong. So let's try to find out why. e4, king takes e4, king c4. Okay, we're gonna do that in the postmortem. So it seemed like it was promising, like, just for the record. King takes e4, king c4, king e5, king takes c3, king e6, king b4, king f7, g6 was the reason why we thought this was winning. Because after king g7, king takes a4, king takes h7, king b5, let's say, king takes g6, a4, h4, a3, h5, a2, h6, a1, check. Not check, but good enough, because after h7 there's queen h8, if not just getting the king closer, and that's a win. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm not using it anymore. So king d5 is amazing. I mean, if it's not e4, g5. But I just don't. It could be something like h6, h4, g6, but that's insane. King e4, king c4, king takes e5. Sorry. King takes e5, king takes e3, king f6. Nah, that doesn't look right. So king d5. Okay, I'm just guessing by now. Let's look at the solution. Okay, g5. What was wrong with e4? King takes e4, king c4. King e5, king takes e3. This is a draw. Wow. So first of all, king f7, the winning move is g5, as Bob said, not g6. g6 allows h4 and h5 and h5, or king g7. Both of them draw. And then king g7. Oof, okay. King g7 here. Because there's I don't know. I can't even guess this right. That's insane. This is a draw. But I think the easier way of looking at this is... Wow, this is just insane. I don't know what to tell you guys. This is beyond my level. Yeah, this is almost a 3000 puzzle. That's maybe why. But king h7 is the drawing move here. Or h5. And then, like, the unintuitive way... Unintuitive move is king h7. It's just so unintuitive. But g5 would have won. I rejected this because after king g7, I counted the tempos completely wrong. So g5 is the reason. That's why h4 is better. And then, that's still not completely clear what's going on. Until you take a look at this line. Ah, okay. I thought this endgame was a win. So we did calculate right. We just concluded wrong. I thought this was a win because the pawn was too far away. So I have to check the theory of these endgames. But I thought I zigzagged my way in. Okay, now we're winning because we have queen h4. So wait a second. Okay, now they go h5. Why did they wait until we go into the very beginning? What is this? So can't they go h... Oh yeah, they could go h5. The engine being the engine. Okay, so... I thought that the pawn was way too... I think if the pawn was on h3, maybe this is the case. So guys, I failed you. As usual, actually. So e4 brute force doesn't work. g5 does, but what about king e4? King d6, king f5, h6, c4, and then we go king c5. And it's a very similar story. This is... I'm starting to think that Leech has got it wrong, but okay. It's happened before on stream, by the way. that the puzzle is actually not a win. And Lichess comes up with like Lichess detects it automatically, and there's a pop-up saying, "Oh, it seems like you found a discrepancy" or something like that. But I don't think this is the case. This is. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, the engine is confused. Pawn endgames in Lichess are annoying. I completely agree with that. Some of them are just insane. But okay, I think we're probably just moaning because we get it wrong all the time. It is confusing though. Because king e4, king e6, c4, king d6. This is so... Like, even looking at the engine and seeing that this is allegedly a win, it's still super complicated. But okay, I believe the engine, I guess. The puzzle rating is 2924. Although after this, it's closer to 2900. The rating of this puzzle was close to 3000. It was 2976. So g5 was the winning move. If king e4, we go king d6. So look at this. g5, and you step backwards. Very passive looking. But it's winning because after king f5, there's the insane h6. And if c4, just king c5, it's just so difficult to believe. King e4, king e6. And it's completely winning. c4, we just go king d6 and we wait. Let's go to the next one. Probably you can't pass it because Lichess is... Sometimes Lichess... I mean, it depends on what your... Let me just show you this. Although, okay, I can't show it because if not, we're gonna lose this position. But if you go to that puzzle dashboard, Lichess tells you what your weakness is. In my case, it's probably endgames. And I've noticed that I get more endgames than normal positions. Although I'm not too sure about that. You would have to ask a Lichess developer. Either way. I found with someone with a puzzle rating of 2032. It was a super GM. Wow, okay. Okay, Viking. I'll do it after this one, yeah? So, queen against rooks. Typical scenario. e6 is the first counter move. d6 is another very logical counter move. Something to ask ourselves is, what is black... Is black threatening anything? And my answer to that would be... maybe something with king g6. I mean, king h7 is illegal, so g6, but then king takes h6 and it's still not clear. So maybe rook f7? So if it was black to play again and black played rook f7, would we go e6? No, because then g6... And unless queen takes g6 is working, which is kind of a... It either works or it doesn't. We would be losing because king takes h6, rook h7. But okay, after we go e6, that's obviously not a problem because rook f7, e takes f7. So let's try to make e6 work. e6, where our threat is very simple. Very primitive. It's e7, e8. How on earth does black stop this? e6, rook f6, e7, g6, king takes h6, g5, king h5, and kind of black loses the mating net ideas. So it's not that. Oh, wait a second. Okay. e6, rook f5, queen takes f5, g6. does force the loss of the queen, but obviously white is completely winning at the end of that sequence. Okay, maybe this is just a gift. E6, what's wrong with E6? Rook F8, E7, we're winning. Obviously, what am I doing? E6, Rook H2. This is good prophylaxis. E7, Rook G5 mate. This is the counterplay. So we have to stop that. E6, Rook H2 though. I think we can go Queen F5 or Queen F4. E6, Rook H2. Queen F5, let's say. But Queen F5, G6. So we have to be careful. Queen F4 maybe is better. But then King H7 and G6 again. Okay, so finally we found Black's counterplay. So what's the difference between E6 and D6? If D6, that doesn't change anything. Because we go D7 and there's Rook G5 mate regardless. Oh yeah. Not sure if you guys answered Rook H2 before I said it. But well spotted. Oh, okay. Okay, let me focus. Wow, there's some like beautiful lines. E6, Rook H2, Queen E5. What is that doing? It's hitting the rook and preventing Rook G5. But there's King H7. Because Rook G5 I think allows take E7 and we're completely winning. So E6, Rook H2. Queen E5, there's King H7 pretty annoyingly. Queen H2, G6 mate. So it's not that. Maybe it's actually Queen G6, E6, Rook H2, Queen G6. Because now I'm trying just moves with the queen that cover G5. So E6, Rook H2, Queen G6. Why Queen G6 over Queen F5? That's an excellent question actually. No, good question actually. There, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, if anything, Queen F5 would make more sense, maybe. Okay, let's go D6. Okay, no, never mind. Like, this is my train of thought. So E6, Rook H2, like let's say Queen G4, just for the sake of the example. Rook takes, King takes E4, and King G8 is pretty clearly winning because E7, King F7. But if we had pushed the D pawn, King G8, D7, the king is not stopping the pawn. But on the other hand, the rook is easily stopping that pawn. So this is rough. E6, Rook H2. Maybe it's not E6 then. Well, what else do we have? Queen g6? Okay. That's insane. Well, e6, rook h2. The problem was after queen f5. g6, queen g6, rook h4. King takes, rook g6. Maybe not actually. E7. I thought e7, rook g8, but we have d6, d7. So you may be completely right, Mr. Bob. And actually, Bob, I can sense that you're strong. What's your rating, Bob? Puzzle rating. E6. I mean, let's not get too excited like in the previous puzzle because we messed up in the last one, but e6, rook h2, queen f5 may be the answer actually. Yeah, okay, g6, queen takes g6. Rook takes g6, king takes g6. King g8, e7, rook g1, king f6, rook f1, king e6. Yeah, it looks good. You're 3,000, goodness gracious. You should be streaming. e6, rook h2, queen g6. Yeah, queen g6 we tried as well. But then I guess... Nah, it's a good question actually. Okay, do we... Let's visualize. e6, rook h2, queen g6. What's the difference between queen g6 and queen f5? I rejected queen g6 for some reason, but I forgot now. Okay. This is the reason. e6, rook h2, queen g6. Rook takes, king g8. e7, rook g1 now. And without the pawn on g7, king f6 is winning. I think that's the answer. Let's give this a shot. So queen f5 or queen g6? Queen g6. Queen g6. Rook takes g6. King takes g6. Forced. If not, rook g5 is a threat again. And then there, king g8. And if e7, there's rook g2. And wherever our king goes, there's king f7. And that's stopping the two pawns. So queen g6, rook takes g6, king takes g6. King g8. d6. But then rook d2. And if we try e7, now there's rook takes d6 check. And if we try d7, now there is king f8, king e7. So that's why queen f5, because we win the g7 pawn. Credit to Bob. Well found. Accuracy. Next, let's take a look at this one. Knight f5 is a candidate move. Rook f5, ef5, e6. And that's about it. I don't see any other candidate moves. Maybe queen c4 and queen b5, but okay. Let's calculate knight f5, rook f5, the exciting ones first, and then let's see if the others are worth our time. So knight f5, ef5 is forced. If not, by the way, we're down a knight, but even even down a knight if black makes a passive move like, I don't know. What do you even play if it's not ef5? We're just making sure we're not missing anything. So like, I don't know, queen g4 runs into knight h6, a fork. Queen h7 or queen h8. You can play a variety of moves. But that's certainly not working, I can guarantee you that. There's actually a very funny line. Knight f5, if queen h7 or queen h8, we can go rook h3. Worst, if worst comes to worst. And we win the queen, and okay, maybe even, we have tons of pawns, so even materially, we get to a position where we're winning materially. Oh yeah, sorry about that. After this one, yeah. I'll open it in the meantime, because I forgot. Knight f5, ef5 is forced. Now. E6 is the main. The main move, but even after king e8, it's not that easy. Which makes me think that somehow the power of the but never mind, actually, sorry. I'm jumping around a lot, but I was gonna say the power of having the knight attack the queen and gain that all important tempo could be powerful than the rook. So that the short-term value of the knight is more powerful than the rook in the short term, obviously. But okay, enough of this. I guess queen c4 is a candidate move because it's threatening all of this stuff for free. But okay, rook f5. Let's try rook f5 because knight f5, I don't see anything against e takes f5, and after e6 there's king e8. Goodness gracious. Okay, so knight f5, ef5, rook h3, knight f4. Queen c4, sorry. So knight f5, ef5, rook h3, queen g5. Queen g5 is... Queen g5 is the problem, I think. Although we could also... But I think we already sacrificed tons of pieces. We could go rook h5, but then there's... I know, knight f4... Sorry, I keep falling into this trick for my opponent. But knight f5, ef5, rook h3, queen g5, maybe rook h5. Which is a super move, by the way. It's such a silent killer. If that works, that's insane. But okay, what if... Okay, let's say queen e7 then. I know, queen e7 and rook h7. So queen d8, rook h7. If king... What if king e8? Queen h5 either way? Yeah, okay. Let me think. Knight f5, ef5, rook h3. Let's say queen d8 right away, which is your example. Yeah. Rook h7, king g8, queen h5. Queen e8, queen h6. Rook f7, queen takes g6. Wow. Okay. Queen e8, queen h6 is game over. Pretty insanely. Knight f5 could... Wow. Okay, wait a second. What a move. Okay, what if king e8 then? Knight f5, ef5, rook h3, queen d8, rook h7, king e8. Queen h5, I'm assuming. And then rook g8. Not sure. Knight f5, ef5, rook h3. Queen d8. Rook h7, king e8. Ah, queen h5, rook g8, queen takes e5. I see. Well, that looks pretty darn... It looks like it's just game over. Okay. Does anyone find any counter to that? That's pretty insane. I feel we're getting into my limit here. Not sure if I can be super instructive here. I guess it's going to... The stream is gonna adapt a more study-like format, as in it's just me trying to, like, you know, coping with all of this. But yeah, I mean, knight f5 looks pretty strong. That's insane. That idea escaped me because I don't know, queen g5 I saw, like, first of all I saw knight f4, but then I failed to see queen c4. Second of all, queen g5, rook h5, but then, you know, it's just falling into the same thing. Oh yeah, that's also very... Oh, wait a second. Oh, wow. You truly saw it all? That's insane. Queen g3, rook f3, queen g4, rook takes f5 as well. Okay, let's go for this, unless anyone has strong opinions. You found it? You found the whole thing? Insane. Okay, let's... Bob, if you think you found this one, give me a chance, yeah? Just tell me, I think I found it. Give me a 3-minute cooldown type of thing. Okay, so candidate moves. Bishop e3. And that's about it. I don't see anything else. So bishop e3. I don't see anything else. Like, my queen is attacked. Queen takes g2 doesn't seem to work. Yeah, I don't see anything else. I can't even move the queen to a safe square. Everything is covered. You're making me feel nice, Bob. Now the truth is, I mean, yeah, obviously that does makes things a little bit difficult, but I should be used to that by now. Bishop e3 is the only move I see. Knight e3 and queen e3 are two of the most natural moves. King f1 looks very... There's no way this works type of move. And concretely, I think it runs into bishop e2, which forces the king to move. And then we're taking on g2. So that doesn't seem like the answer. Although there's this line with king f1. And if we go bishop e2, there's king e1. With the idea of meeting queen takes g2 with knight takes e3. That looks very weird, first of all. Second of all, there's, I think, queen g1. King takes. And rook takes b2. We're winning, I think. So bishop e3. King f1 doesn't work. And I'm quite sure there's some improvement in the line I just mentioned. But it serves as a as a starting point, or it serves as a worst case scenario. So king f1, there's no way. It's just bishop e2. So bishop e3, knight e3 and queen e3. If knight e3, by the way, king e1 doesn't deserve attention at all, actually. It's just queen takes g2. And there's no way, there's nothing, there's no knight e7 or rook f8 checks or tricks. So bishop e3, knight e3, rook b2 is the follow-up. Once again, I don't see anything other than rook b2. But then king g1. And what on earth are we doing here? So it's not that. It can't be. So I'm maybe missing a candidate move, a very key candidate move at some point. Bishop e3, knight e3. Bishop e3, knight e3. Rook b2. King g1. I'm gonna call a friend very soon, guys. If you're suggesting ideas, I'll check it out very soon. If you're as confused as me, bear with me. Bishop e3, knight e3. Rook b2, king g1. So we can bail out with queen e3, but I don't think we're even bailing out properly. I think we're actually falling into, I don't know, we're down a piece. So what is going on here? Okay, maybe rook b2 right away? Ah, rook b2 right away. Look at this. Rook b2 right away makes it so king g1 is no longer working for obvious reasons. Queen takes g2 is mate. And after rook takes b2, let's say knight takes b2, then bishop e3, forcing king f1 or king e1. After which things look pretty bad for white. That's my intuition. I'm using my intuition to state such a thing. I'm allowed to do that. But then as long as you eventually find a concrete solution. But okay, rook takes b2, that's a candidate move that I just didn't mention. That's insane. I was thinking bishop e3 was the only move, but rook takes b2. I'm gonna look at the chat now. Yeah, Thiago, you were completely right. And Bob, you were completely right. So let's go for rook takes b2. It seems like it's the way. But queen takes b2, we just have to... Okay, let's visualize first. Bishop e3, just out of discipline. Bishop e3. So what if knight e3? Queen e3, king f1. Bishop e2, king e1. Yeah, that's... There must be something there. Bishop d3, king d1, queen e1 is already made. Okay, well... Let's go for it. Okay, so this bishop e2, right? And then queen takes g2, only move. Nice. We're getting many puzzles today. Bishop h3 maybe, goodness gracious. No, takes b2, bishop e3, king f3 though. Oh, sorry, maybe I jumped too quickly. Give me a second. Let's go through that. Wait, what? Sorry, I'm misunderstanding something here. King f1, sorry, yeah. Bishop e2. Yeah, bishop h3. So bishop e2, like, it's not... I'm acting as if it was obvious, but obviously, like, no, there's nothing obvious out of chess. King takes e2, queen takes g2. I guess you were thinking about this position here. Which looks completely horrible. But okay, let's try to find a knockout. Maybe simply, I don't know. Takes king, queen e4. This forces king d1. Because already here, knight d3. I think we can take, and we're up. After g takes f6, we're up 1,000 pawns. So king d1. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to find a concrete solution. Like, it's just evaluating this position as completely winning. There's bishop d4 as well. But as I said, there are many moves that completely leave black with a completely winning position. But queen takes d5 is one of them. King e1 without this. It's something similar to what we were calculating at the beginning. Yeah. Oh, wait a second. I forgot again. Okay, you guys think about this one while I open the Discord. Discord. Oh, sorry. There we go. And I think, Thiago, I think you sent a message in certain line. If you guys want, this is cheeky of me, but if you guys want a better latency, because YouTube, sorry, YouTube has a worse latency than Twitch, and well, hopefully Twitch is still working. Yeah, Twitch is I think quicker. So I'm gonna send a message. Let's see how quick this is. Yeah, almost no latency. So I recommend Twitch for no latency. But I think the transcoding is a little bit worse according to someone. Either way. So I've pulled up the position you're sharing, Viking. Maybe we can leave it at the end. Or maybe I'll do it next stream, actually. It seems like an insane one. It seems like the type of puzzle that would make the stream go 30 more minutes. Which is not a bad thing. Just chaotic. Okay, so ideas here. I was absent for a while. Knight takes e2, queen takes c7, e3, and that's about it. Okay. So knight takes e2, queen takes e2, queen takes e7 is completely winning. But I guess the danger is in something like maybe a natural move like rook c2, and the question is this enough? Are three, I mean 3 pawns for the exchange does seem like enough. Why is this simply not winning? Or why is... Oh, wait a second, we're down a piece there. What am I saying? Okay. e3, queen f4. But then maybe that's a better version than knight takes e2, rook c2, because we get to trade the queens. So queen takes f4, g takes, or rook takes, and we go knight takes e2. Maybe that's winning. Hello. Wow. You're completely right, yeah. Queen takes f7, I would have fallen into that. So we have to stop queen takes f7. Or, sorry, anticipated. Maybe not stop. e3, what I was calculating just now is not wrong because of queen f4, but queen takes f7. And rook takes rook c8. It's made in... Forced mate, actually. So maybe... Actually, knight 62 falls into that same trick. So maybe we don't even have a choice from the very beginning. You see a move. What's the move? Oh, look at this. Knight f3. Is that the move? Sorry, Bob, you're still trying to not spoil it. Well, I appreciate that a lot. If it is knight f3, I mean, maybe I'm jumping into conclusions, but knight f3 seems working like it's working, sorry. Bishop f3, ef3 with the double. Yeah. Nice. I think it's knight f3. Knight f3, bishop f3, ef3. But yeah, like, I guess you reach that conclusion. What a move, by the way, first of all. But second of all, knowing that queen f7 is a threat helps a lot. Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's try to squeeze one last one before the hour. But I must say, by now, I'm most of this is barely me. Okay, let me try not to look at chat for this one. So king d4, we're threatening e2, which is completely winning. So I guess rook f8. This is the main concern. Okay, now I'm actually going down. I'm going king d6. Because if king g2, I have rook c1. And I think it's just completely over. And for example, if rook f6, I go king e7. But then rook f5, so I'm not sure. King e6, rook f8. I'm trying to stay away from the e file. So king d6, rook f8 could also be a problem. King d4, rook f8. Okay, so I think we're gonna have to depend on calculating king and pawn endgames. I think we have to go rook c6, rook e, like for example, lines like king d6, king rook f6, king e7, rook f5, rook c6, rook e5, rook e6 type of thing. But maybe there's a better version of doing it with king d4, rook f8, rook c5. Because after, I don't know, rook e8, rook e5, rook takes e5, king takes e5, the king is much more active. And on that note, actually, I think it's king d4. Once again, e2 is a deadly threat. King g2 runs into rook c1. And at rook f8, now it's too late. Because there's e2, and even after check, we have king c3. I think very important move. Because if we go to c5, rook c8, for instance, if we go to the e file, I mean, king e3 also works, yeah. Because there's rook e8 and then king d2, rook d8, and as long as you eventually go king c2, rook c8, king b2, then you're absolutely winning, because then you're just getting close to the rook. And there's going to be promotion. So king d4, the only move is rook f8 or rook f7, which is essentially the same. And then we go rook c5. So now once again we're threatening e2. Um, actually, maybe not. We're not threatening e2 because there's king f2. So forget about king d4, rook c, king d4, rook f8, rook c5. Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty annoying. There's a common motive in these positions. Let's say king d6. I just want to show this idea. Very often, we're going to be calculating king g2 as a counter move. But then there's check. And sometimes if, like, white has king f1 in this case, so that's a bad example. But sometimes if white goes king g1, we have check and then e2. So we get to go to the first rank with a tempo. But okay, that's not relevant. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, last effort. King d4, rook f8. What if king d3, king e2? Isn't that a winning rook? But this is where puzzles get strong, like pretty tough. You have to evaluate that rather than calculate. King d4, rook f8, king d3. I don't see anything else. If king d4, rook f8. Wait a second. There's also e2. What am I? Oh no, e2, king f2. What am I saying? So I guess rook c1, threatening e2. And then there's check, or rook e8. Because if something like f4 or h4, there's e2 and we're completely winning. There goes the battery of the camera. Let me change it. Thiago, I think, once again, I think we had the right idea at the exactly the same time. Let's see if this works. The microphone is killing my throat, stabbing my throat. Hopefully YouTube doesn't demonetize the stream. King d4, rook f8, rook c1 is the idea now. Threatening e2. So if rook d8, if white tries bombarding us with eternal checks, we go king c3, rook c8, king d2. Taking the rook is always losing. So because takes e2, king d2, e1, we could even pre-move. So let's say rook d8. And then we have to go to e1. f4. Let's say. White is desperate for counterplay. And I think we can go e2. Or takes first and then e2, and that looks winning. So king d4, rook f8, rook c1. What if rook e8? Because maybe the checks just help black get to the f1 square. So rook e1. But then we go king d3. And if check, we can once again kind of sidestep and get back into this. I'm going to try this one. We're near the 1 hour limit. Rook f6, very weird choice by the engine. It makes sense. Maybe they want rook takes h6 and then rook e6. But okay, it doesn't matter because after rook c1, if rook takes h6, e2. So that's not gonna cut it for white. And unless anyone has strong opinions, I think rook c1 is winning. But at the end, where white can sack the rook with the pawn pawns looks like a draw. Okay, wait a second. Rook c1, okay, let's say check, king c3, check, king here, check. Let's say king e1, rook e6, e2, let's say white goes for f4. By the way, white can't get this with a better version with rook takes h6, I don't think so. Rook c1, this, e2 is game over. The king is nice and centered to stop, and the pawn on g5 is doing a good job. So for example, just to complete that, rook h6, e2, rook e6, e1, takes, f4, there's rook e3. And if h4... Okay, h4 is a little bit more annoying, but I think king e3, hg, rook g1? Okay, don't quote me on that one, but it should be winning. I mean, or g takes and then king e3. Yeah, it should be winning. So rook c1, rook d6 or rook e6. Rook e6, rook c1, rook e6, king d3, f4, e2, check. I think we can just run, actually. This check is losing. We can, as soon as they go check, we go to this side of the board and we do the little zigzag over here. So it's rook c1. So king e5 is the trap here because they go rook d8. So we go king c3. King c5 is another trap, I think, because then they go rook e6. And Lichess is going to give it as wrong because we didn't make progress, I guess. Or maybe it's objectively a draw already. The point I'm making is king c3, rook e6, king d2 should be winning. Nice. In which position, Bob? Could you please... This is the engine's choice of defense is similar to this line, actually. So obviously with the rook on the 6th rank, this is not the case. Because rook c6 simply loses the rook. But actually, this is actually probably clever of the engine, because it's more likely a human is going to say, okay, king c5 is working now. But the reason why you go king c5 is not only to not blunder rook, but also you want your king on e1. This is where you shield yourself from checks. Just whenever they play f4, yeah, okay, but I think because you're talking about those positions where white sacrifices the rook for the pawn. So let's say something like this, and let's say rook here, and then let's say f4. We go e2. I know what you mean now. You're talking about something like this, but I don't even think. I mean, yeah, I'm quite sure you were not talking about this exact position. Okay, let's say something like this, maybe. But that's winning after king c2. Sorry, I just... I think this is just completely winning. Pretty easily. Like this. And if they go... I don't know, check. King here. Something like this maybe, and then f4. Yeah, this is clearly winning. But I'm quite sure this is also winning. Yeah. King f1 is winning, rook c3. Why is king f1? Oh, okay, yeah. This is easily winning humanly, but king f1 is also winning. G takes f4 is winning. Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining. Our rating is currently at 29. Let's take a look at the dashboard. How do I see this? Okay, I don't know how to show this on the big screen, but our rating is currently, I can show it here, I guess. 2980. So the next stream should be, we should maybe be able to hit 3000. And the puzzles that we solved today were rated okay, I'm gonna write them down to save everyone's time, but it's gonna be on the stream's description or on the chapters. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll take a look at the position Viking sent over the Discord. And yeah, remember that probably for a better reaction time, when we're looking at calculation or we're mentioning variations, it's probably better to text in Twitch on Twitch, because despite maybe you guys can watch the stream quality, but then use Twitch for the okay. I'm not sure. Either way, thanks everyone. I wish you all the best. Have a good beginning of your week, and I'll see you around. Thanks for the session. Well, thanks for finding all the moves, Bob. Thiago, you also found pretty good moves. But yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good day.